All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Welcome everyone to the Policy Committee meeting of June 18th, 2025. I'd like to begin this meeting by acknowledging that we are privileged to meet on the unceded and the ancestral territories of the Squamish and the St'át'imc Nations. With that, we have a recommendation.
That we do love this meeting.
Thank you, Rachel. And is there someone ready to second? Celeste, thank you so much. And minute recommendation? Thank you, Celeste. That the minutes of the Policy Committee meeting held on April the 9th, 2025 be adopted. Any seconded for that? Rachel, thank you so much. That brings us to our information items, and I'd like to turn it over to Danielle to go over our policy review schedule.
No. Yeah, I was just, there's only two. Isn't that not the one?
No, but I don't believe, I mean, the pleasure of the board, I don't believe there'll be any motions, so
We just passed a bunch.
we won't need, so quorum is for decision making, so we're actually okay as discussion.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point. But yeah, I think we had a quick discussion just before we started.
sorry.
Well, just as you were logging in, so I think you were probably thinking about the computer and getting it all set. But yeah, I think just if we have to pass any motions, then we have to. Yeah, we have to. Hello, come and join us. We've just started and we're on our policy review schedule. And so we have Danielle taking over.
Started at 9:25. Okay, so there are no schedule or changes from the schedule from last time. Just a heads up to everybody that we are going to be going through the 700 series in the 25-26 year, which focus on the business aspects of the district. So we'll be looking forward to working on those next year. That's it for schedule.
Okay. Thank you so much. And yeah.
When is the next time we review the dog policy again? Will that happen in the next year? Or when are we, did we say we were going to review that within a year or something like that? Let's just see how it's working.
With the dogs. That's not an agenda setting. What did we say about that?
I think we said within a year we would.
So we'll do
Yes.
that as well within the next year.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the cell phones, which you're going to talk about
Today, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions on that? Okay, seeing none, I'll turn it over to Superintendent Nicholson to give us an update on the cell phones in schools.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you very much. So as Celeste said, when we implemented the fuller policy, which is the use of personal devices, the request was made, can we have a recap of how things are going regarding cell phones specifically? So I met with the administration from all of the schools, and I'll start with elementary because maybe no surprise. That's been the easiest one to implement and to continue because schools already at the elementary school level had their own internal policies and requirements regarding the use of cell phones. So across the board, all of our elementary schools have not reported any significant challenges at all. Staff, students, parents, and thank you to families for supporting the new policy as well. Not seeing any issues there with cell phone use when they shouldn't be. At our middle and high schools, perhaps not surprisingly, that's proved to be a little more challenging. Things are improving, but there were pockets of resistance from students because we recognize, and I think the research bears out that for some students, cell phone addiction and addiction to digital devices is a real thing. And so implementing a policy to support children in the development and to protect them from further addictions or other concerns around overuse of technology in the classroom, especially the cell phones, has been challenging at times. However, schools have reported things are improving. In the classroom especially, that's
Mhm.
where all schools are reporting compliance. Some challenges still exist, however, when folks know that there might be a substitute in. We don't know all kids, not all kids. Many kids do like to take advantage of the fact when their teacher isn't in the room to push the boundaries a little bit, and that certainly happened with cell phones. However, all schools are continuing to remind students, make the effort, and to be consistent in their approach. I want to thank the teachers because it can be challenging to have to monitor that. Support staff and the principals for their ongoing work with kids and with families. So we will be also ensuring that really clear messaging goes out at the start of the year, because we really can't do this work without the support of the parents, and want to remind parents that any concerns they have around child safety, or the need to get in touch with their children for family emergency or other things, again, the school office number is always the best number to call, and we can assure families that office staff will happily get in touch with children, and therefore no need for cell phone. That said, of course, those students with IEPs that specifically speak to the use of cell phones or other electronic devices as part of their IEP, for things like glucose monitoring if they're diabetic, or for other technology supports, will continue to be honored as per their IEP. And what I will say further is another challenge. And again, I want to thank the schools for creative ways to address this, is ensuring that if kids are to not bring their cell phones into class, especially for the older students, but they do bring their cell phones to school because they use it for after school activities, for checking in with their employer, etc. Looking to creative solutions where we can provide some security for those phones. Not all students have access to lockers in all of our schools due to the design of the schools. So some schools are trying to implement cell phone lockers or cell phone hotels to keep things safe. But again, we would just remind families that if your child, even your teen, doesn't necessarily need a cell phone for school, maybe to think about keeping that at home to help with that. And we will continue to work with our schools and families around creative solutions to meet everyone's needs, while at the same time honoring the importance of the legislation around cell phone restrictions.
Mhm. Great. Thank you so much for that, Chris. I have one question, like regarding like kids and cell phone addictions. Can you talk a little bit to how that can be addressed at the school level, or if it can? Like, are counselors able to help kids through that or give recommendations? Any insight?
Yeah, I think what I can share is that there have been ongoing opportunities for families to learn more about cell phone addiction and other concerns around screen time and the use of devices. So many of our schools have partnered with outside consultants and speakers who have offered opportunities. There will be more opportunities coming. I will do a shout out to Deepak, who is helping to or is sponsoring Screen Readers, which is a well-known film, but there'll be some contemporary conversation about that. So there'll be opportunities for families to become engaged. Our counselors on our websites as well, school websites, do have links to supports for students and for families and supporting their kids to help them, make better choices and support families and supporting just health in general around the use of cell phones.
That's great.
And I will also mention, sorry, really quickly, that I believe next year is also in the 700 series. our district, I'm going to get the name wrong, but it's our policy around the use of technology in
Mm.
schools. So we will absolutely be having an opportunity for discussion and changes and amendments to that policy to be more contemporary in scope and potentially reference some of the concerns as well as supporting ongoing supporting documents and procedures around that.
Mhm. No, that will be good timing. And then I know it's April, go ahead.
Yeah, just wanted to bring in the teachers or any sort of feedback about the lunchtime use. So when I go into a building and I see students all sitting around the table and instead of having a conversation, they're all scrolling on their phone. That's concerning as well as, the interruption to learning, right? It's the social interaction during the break times. So I'm just wondering if you've heard anything. Is that getting any better? Because that was one of my biggest ones.
Yeah, so the current policy is clear about at which age and grade level that students are able to access their phones during time. And again, that the legislation from the ministry was really around during instructional time. That said, I am happy to report that teachers and principals have noted, and kids that we've spoken to as well, have noted that there definitely is increased interaction. However, it is still, it's still an observable phenomenon, if you can call it that, where students are on their phones during non-instructional time. But when you speak with kids, often they're actually texting with their peers, and sometimes you will see students back to back or in cluster all on their phones. And when you chat with them, you find that they're actually having a conversation on their phone. And then it's just an interesting observation, a suggestion. What would that look like if you actually saw it looked face to face?
Mhm.
So
I think it's good to have a bit of a gentle transition. If, and I'm not saying this is what our plan is, but if our goal is to eventually, even at the high school level, have no cell phone use during school hours, and I don't know if that's where we want to go. I think it's what we're doing right now is really great. Like, make sure that the use during classroom time is as minimal as possible to none. And then, when we would look at the policy again, we can discuss if we want to strengthen it and have more restrictions or not. But I think it's really great right now where we are, that we're seeing so much improvement in the in-class.
and I will say that for our students transition into middle, and in the case of Whistler and Pemberton into the high school, because the elementary schools have continued to, right, this is what the kids will know. The hope is, the trend should be
Nice.
that it'll be
Natural.
just understood and easier as we go, but it will take some time. I should mention too, I apologize for not mentioning this. We had a roundtable meeting the other day with Vancouver Coastal Health, and Vancouver Coastal Health shared a number of resources that when ready, we'll be posting on our website. And one of those areas, there were a number of topics that were discussed at an earlier meeting about how can VCH support the districts, which we're a part of, and around the mental health piece supports was around digital devices and cell phone use. And so there is in paper a one pager with a number of links to resources for families around use of personal digital devices, screen time, etc. So again, we'll be really clearly communicating that out, and then our intent is to ensure that we do a blanket reminder around personal devices in September and at various times throughout the year.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Thank you.
I find it, being in one of our high schools recently, I found it quite interesting to see the few groups that came to present to us. Oh, it's cell phones in their back pockets. And so I was curious about, are they supposed to be stored somewhere, or or what if it's a distraction or not? So that was, I know I mentioned it to you afterwards. So just a curiosity.
Yeah, so again, our policy is it's instructional time, so I don't coming to do a presentation. To have it on their person. I know they weren't on their cell phones during the presentation, so that was great to see. But again, it's not it isn't policed at all sites in between classes. For sometimes it's reasons of, as I mentioned, where can they store their phones? So that's an ongoing challenge for sure. And there's cost. We looked into, what is the cost of hotels in every classroom or at the front of the office or whatever, and it's prohibitive. So it would lead to some thoughtful conversations. But again, if the importance of that is a priority, then we would come to you with here's our proposal, right, in terms of a budget, what that looks like, and then what impact that has on potentially other services and programs. Because it is not inexpensive.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks so much, Chris. We have 3 minutes left in the agenda for this meeting, and I think I just have one more question. So we'll do that and then we'll try to wrap it up.
Yeah. Just to comment on what's the plan for student engagement on any revision of the policy, or how can we give kids some ownership in how the policy is looking? Just any discussions that you have planned, because they probably have some good ideas about what could be done.
Yeah, absolutely. I think including student voice in this is super, super important. We did go out to kids in the initial process. And again, what's interesting is when you talk to kids individually, most students do recognize that this is an issue, even if they enjoy it and think, oh gosh, how am I going to not use my phones? They do recognize that it's a distraction for them. They recognize that that fear of missing out as well, right? FOMO, as kids call it, is a real thing. And I will share and say that our schools, our teachers are doing a great job in when they have the opportunities, like in CLC, for example, and physical health education, and having those conversations and sharing, those curriculum and lesson plans around this as well, to just share with students, this is how the algorithms work. Right, that it is a dopamine hit, and it is playing with your brain, and it has impact and has lasting impact. So, yeah, thank you.
Great, thank you so much. And I see we have no action items. Are there any questions of clarification from the public?
Gonna check.
No, they're not.
Okay, nothing at this time. And that brings us to the adjournment. And seeing that we have completed all the business of this meeting, we will call this meeting adjourned at 9:44. And our next meeting starts at 9:45. So if everyone can log out and